that I'm at the cabin, I'm gonna show you how to mix watercolor paint. Watercolor painting consists of 5 important ingredients. One is the pigment that I pre-crushed and pre-dried before out of the stone that I could find in the water. Binder, that is usually gum arabic. This is a liquid gum arabic that I made myself, diluted out of crystals that I purchased in the pigment store before. Plasticizer, which is a glycerin, you can find it in pharmacy. And humectant, usually it is honey mixed with corn syrup. And dextrin, which is also a filler. And for that I'm going to be using wheat starch, diluted with hot water. The proportion is 2 tablespoons of wheat starch to 1 tablespoon of boiling water. And I will start with pre-mixing a vehicle, and for that we are going to be using gum arabic of 1 tablespoon, and I'm going to be mixing it in this container. I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of gum arabic. It's like a little chemistry, really. It's so interesting. Put together. Glycerin, 1 teaspoon of glycerin. Here's my teaspoon. Well, actually, glycerin is usually added for not letting watercolor paint dry so easily. And so mosquitoes, it's all in nature, so you don't need no blood added to our watercolor paint, right? 1 teaspoon of glycerin mixed in the same container. Humectant, which is, well, I don't have honestly a corn syrup, so I'm gonna mix my honey, 1 teaspoon of honey. Here, looks like you can eat it all. Oh, it's a little bit too much, so I'm gonna add less. There you go. A little bit more. Honey doesn't let watercolor dry. Also, and stay viscosity. And we need cloth of oil. That's gonna be a nice smell. We add just a little bit. It's just 1 drop, even less. This is really chemistry, isn't it? And ox gall that you also can find in the regular art supply stores if you're looking for watercolor materials. And that's going to be 2 drops of ox gall. 1, 2. And that would be it. Now I just need to mix it together. It's going to be a little bit more than I need to mix proportion of pigments that I found, but you can always pre-mix it before and store it in your fridge. You just keep it in a glass container and put some plastic over it. Make sure that you write that it's not edible, not drinkable, because if your husband gets in here, you can possibly drink it accidentally. So that would be our vehicle. Now that I have my vehicle pre-mixed, I can start mixing my paint. And I'm going to be doing it on a plastic board. And here is pre-measured 1 tablespoon of the pigments that I crushed. And I need to make it mix it like a dough for bread. So I need to make a little hole and measure 1 teaspoon of vehicle. So the proportion is 1.5 tablespoon of pigment to 1 teaspoon of vehicle. But this is just 1 tablespoon of pigment, and I'm going to be using 2/3 of the teaspoon of the vehicle. So about that much, pouring it inside. And using the putty knife, I'm going to be mixing the pigment. I will also be adding some of the cornstarch, wheat starch, into it to make it a filler, but I need to add it, I think, as I need it. So just make the consistency just right. You need to work this for about 1 hour to make it more smooth and good consistency. And when it's all ready, you can start adding your cure to make it more smooth texture and right consistency. But you can also add the vehicle as you need to make it more, softer or harder. So I'm going to be adding a little bit of starch, about 2/3 of the teaspoon. I mean, this is all an experiment, and you will need to add ingredients as you feel like it's gonna be. It's all experimentation, so you need to mix it and then try it on the paper, and then see if something else you need to add, make it more smoother, more drier. Also, when paint is pre-mixed, it is suggested to put it in a ceramic container and cover it with the cheesecloth and keep it for a few days like this. So the extra liquid evaporates and it's becoming more of a watercolor paint. Well, as I'm looking now, it does look like a watercolor paint that you get from a tube. We'll see how it's going to turn out when I'm going to start painting. On this piece of paper, I tested my paint, and what I did is first I made the black line. The reason why I did it is to see how opaque my paint is, and you can see that it goes over the black quite intense, so it is quite opaque, more closer to gouache. But it all depends on the pigment and consistency of the paint. If you're using pigments that you buy from the store, you possibly could make them more transparent, and depends also on the color. And I would like to show you the way paint behaves. This is already dried, so I have to wait when it's gonna thoroughly dry, and I'm gonna simply try washing the paint away, and look how nicely it goes away. So it's very easy to wash. It also depends on the sizing of the paper. This paper is the one that I always use, and it is Archer's 156 pound paper, rough. So I'm very happy with the paint, except that I could have crushed the stone much nicer. It didn't quite get into the powder, and you can see there is some pieces of stone peeling off, but this is not a problem anyway for me, and that was a nice experience. And thank you so much for listening. I hope you will try mixing your own watercolor painting. Good luck.